So all I'm saying is that sometimes things are happening in our lives, and because we're not educated on the engineering of the process, we think this can't be right.
Right.
So we start thinking, I'm losing in this situation, when actually sometimes we're learning through the situation. We're setting standards that we would have never set in our life without that particular situation.
Right.
We learn how to be more vocal. We learn how to communicate more effectively. We learn how to be more assertive if you're playing sports.
Right.
Right. We all these things we learn through what we thought was a losing season.
But it's happening for you.
But it was happening for us.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is when you're tempted to think the worst and I got to avoid being hurt again in a relationship. I got to avoid being broke in terms of finance. I got to avoid, not succeeding in life. I want you to think more about, man, I am being positioned to win.
If you're a go-getter, faith-driven, and family-focused, and need to break through to your next level, this is the podcast for you. Your self-talk can reshape every area of your life. It's time to dream and think big. Welcome to the Self-Talk Experience with Darnell and Tracy Self. It's time to elevate, baby. Let's get into the show.
What's up, Self-Talk Experience family? Darnell Self.
Tracy Self.
Beautiful wife, Tracy.
Oh, you call me
Self.
beautiful, babe. Thank you.
You're naturally beautiful.
Oh, thanks, babe.
You're welcome. Hey, welcome, family. I'm excited about today. We're going to talk about what we said we were going to talk about this before, and somehow I got off on habits.
Okay.
But today I want to talk about focusing on winning instead of focusing on avoiding losing.
Focus on winning, but not focusing on losing.
Right.
What do you mean? I guess that could be your self-talk saying.
Oh, it is.
Right?
It is.
Because sometimes our self-talk is, I wish this won't happen, or I hope I don't go there, or almost like willing the failure to come to you.
Right.
Sometimes, right?
But it's not easy, though.
It's not.
Because when you've been in a situation where you've not achieved the success that you like, the results that you like, you're led by fear. You let fear become your travel agent instead of faith becoming your tour guide.
Oh, say that again.
I can't say it again.
That
I know
was
what
good.
I just said. Yeah, but
just rewind. That was good. No, that was good. So like if I am a great student and I usually get A's on tests, when I'm going to take a test, a big test, my self-talk may be, I got this because I'm good. I do well all the time, so I'm going to do well on this test. But if I'm not a good student and I'm nervous because I don't usually do well, maybe my self-talk is, I sure hope I don't fail this.
That's exactly
I really hope I can pull through. I really hope I can just at least get a C on this test.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Because I'm not focusing on winning. I'm focusing on
Not losing.
I hope I don't lose.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And people do it all the time. And now that you've seen this episode, you're going to notice that people say things like, oh my gosh, I hope I pass.
Yes. But we all do it.
Right. Yeah.
We all do it.
Yeah. So it's the same thing in every area. Let me prove it. Either I don't want to be broke or I can't wait to be a millionaire. Right. So either somebody's focusing on winning. If their goal is to be a millionaire, it could be whatever it is, whatever the goal is.
Sure.
But either you're trying to avoid losing or you're focusing on attempting the win.
Right.
If someone is in sports, right, they're either focusing on winning, playing to win, or they're playing to avoid losing. There's no momentum in avoiding losing.
No, but that's when your affirmations really play a big part.
Absolutely.
Especially if you start your day with them.
Yep.
Because perhaps it can fear you through. And even when you want to go the other way, you're like, no, that's not what my focus is today.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. It's an area, right? And you're absolutely right. Your affirmations help with that. So depending on, and affirmations should change as things that you desire in life change. Right. And sometimes you accomplish those things. So you shift your affirmation as well. So let's just say you're starting a new relationship with someone who you'd like to become your significant other.
Okay.
but you've had failed relationships. Mm-hmm. So you can go into this relationship hoping not to lose.
Right.
Or go into the relationship expecting to win and have a healthy relationship.
But what's the process look like for that? Because that's so hard to do. It's very difficult. Like if you've been in a season of not winning, how do you go into that next season or that next phase with a totally different mindset? And not have that fear.
Yeah. So a couple of different things. A great question. A couple of different things that I found to be helpful.
Okay.
And by the way, we do this self-talk podcast because we talk about our experiences and the experience of others that are close to us that have helped us to now communicate this to our audience. We're not saying these are the only ways to overcome challenges or the only solutions to problems. We're saying here's some of the ones that we found to be helpful in how we shifted our self-talk.
But also too, babe, when we're talking, sometimes it prompts us to think of possibilities that we hadn't even thought of before, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't, I don't have all the answers.
Right.
Sometimes you have to walk away and say, today I just don't understand.
Yeah.
Right. But the next day you have to think about it. Yeah.
Because we're trusting that tomorrow perhaps it will be revealed to us through the next conversation, the next podcast, right? Like this is actually a revelation for somebody.
Right. But even in doing that, you still have to watch your self-talk because you could say to yourself, it didn't happen for me today and it's probably not going to happen tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Yep.
Or you can have the opposite, like we talk about, and you say, it didn't happen for me today, but it's definitely happening tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm going to do this tomorrow. I didn't get to do it today, but this is going to happen Thursday or it's going to happen Friday or whatever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, the things that we continuously have said to ourselves in our past have led to our actions because those are thoughts.
Right.
And those thoughts led to things.
Sure.
And so all of our thoughts have led us to where we are today. The good news is, starting today, our thoughts, if we learn how to shift them, can lead to what will be tomorrow. And not necessarily tomorrow, but next year,
in the
2 years
future,
from now.
sure.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, because you said to me, hey, babe, that's difficult. You know, how do you do that if you've had some failures, if you've not had success in a particular area of your life? You know, how do you just turn that on and start focusing on winning when it feels like losing has just been a part of your plight?
Right.
So one, if you can, have someone around you that you've given permission to check you when your self-talk is off. Now that person should also be watching the self-talk podcast. They don't even know to check you if they're not. So, but that's good to have someone. And because I do it to you all the time. We do it to the kids. They do it to each other.
Right.
Right. Milan will do it to you.
Right.
Our daughter will do it to you. So that's the power is having someone around you. So, because we're all, look, nobody's perfect. We're striving for excellence, not perfection. Otherwise, we wouldn't be human.
But even if you have someone around you that has the permission, you have to be in a space where you can receive it.
Yep.
Because whether someone has permission or not, it can still piss you off. And sometimes it can close you for a second. But then you have to come to yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And get to a place. Because like you said, it's in timing.
Yep.
Right? You have to be prompted in the right time to make a move.
So yes.
Right?
And yes, and not an or, and you have to be honest enough with yourself to ask yourself, does that person really have permission if I'm that pissed?
Well, no, I think that people can definitely have permission, but because it's scary for you to take a look within, it still make you upset. They can absolutely have permission. You have permission to say anything to me, but it's some of the things you say still upset me or still may hurt my feelings.
Right.
And that's fair.
Right.
Right. But you still have permission.
So let me ask you this. If someone who didn't have permission said the same thing, would your response be different?
You'd probably be even more pissed off. I mean, it may make you even angrier or more defensive. But when it comes from someone who you know generally really has your best interest at heart, it could still sting, but not as much.
Right.
That's just my experiencing what I've gone through. I'm not saying that would be for everyone.
Right. No,
it's my opinion.
No, but the reason why I'm asking this is really good, because the reason why I'm asking this question is this. We're talking about focusing on winning, not losing.
Right.
And we say that a person who has permission can call you out and say, hey, look, have you ever thought about saying it this way? And you said, well, if that person is not ready to receive it, even if the other person has permission to say it, then they will be upset, angry, and still won't receive it. And I'm glad you said that, because what I want to prove to the audience is that you are still focusing on losing, not on winning. So if you're at a place where you're not ready to receive it, you're not ready to focus on winning.
Regardless of who it comes from.
That's right. You're not ready.
Not
you cannot continue to lie to yourself and say, I'm ready to focus on winning. No, you're not. You're not ready to focus on winning. And for whatever reason, I'm not here to judge or say that you don't have legitimate reasons why you feel you're not ready to focus on winning in relationships, because especially if you've been hurt all your life in relationships, or you're not ready to win in finances, especially if you have gotten finances and then lost it, lost it, or perhaps everybody you know who's been successful were not nice people. And so now in the back of your mind is successful people are mean and are arrogant and step on other people, manipulate other people. So now that's what you think about money, you have to overcome that.
Well, sometimes you have to go to such a place.
Yeah.
The tallest buildings are built by digging the deepest, right? So sometimes you have to go way down to figure it out to come up even higher.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Sometimes you just have to go through something and maybe sit in it for a second and really realize this is horrible and I don't want it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people have to be allowed to stew for a second.
Yeah.
Whether you have permission or not.
Right.
And also the person who has permission has to stick it out.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, okay, well, they're not changing. They must not want to hear from me. I thought I had permission. You do have permission. You have it, but sometimes the person is not in a good place. And they're in that down low season, or that down low phase, and they need a second to come out of it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, sometimes, depending on the relationship, they come back and say, babe, you were right. Last month was not good. I wasn't doing well. It wasn't good. I got it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes they come back and tell you, or sometimes you just notice like, oh, they did listen to me.
Right.
They may not have said it, but you're watching them get better, and you're watching what's happening in their life, and you're watching their self-talk change, and you're watching like, okay, they do want to win.
Right.
They're winning now.
Right.
And possibly, prayerfully, that it came from you, but if it didn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because if you care about somebody, it doesn't matter where it came from, as long as they're winning.
Right.
Right.
That's tough too.
It's hard because some people want you to come back and say,
They want the credit.
I told you that. I told you that this person was good for you. I told you that you should have maybe stepped away from that position a long time ago. Now you're doing it. And no, what's worse is if they say, yes, this person told me I should have left that position. And you're thinking, that is great.
Right.
But I told you last year to do that.
Right.
So, but it's okay.
Right. As long as they're winning.
Because if you care about them, however they get it, right?
Yeah. And in some of this, and again, we're talking about focusing on winning.
Right.
Instead of putting our focus on avoiding losing.
And I know I went in a different direction, but I get what you're saying. But when you started talking about permission, it just made me think sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not. And some of it is just an education. That's why personal development and personal growth is so important.
That's true.
Because what personal growth has meant to me in my own life, and I think for many others, is their ability to bounce back faster. So when things are said to them that causes them to look in the mirror and perhaps hear some things that they really didn't want to face, they would have bounced back faster because of personal growth and personal development. So personal development allows you to see through a different lens,
right?
Because because it's been identified to you. No one else had to tell you through because it's personal development, you were able to see it for yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. And so then when other people say things, you're like, you know what? I already knew that. I knew it. I before you even said anything, I knew it. I just haven't been facing it. I just hadn't done anything about it. I just been procrastinating, but they already knew it. And that's why personal development is so important. Right. So, and it comes from, again, in education, self-education, right? And that's not necessarily formal education. And I never forget, I went to Hawaii, and it's my first time ever in an earthquake. And so that's when I took my mom and my aunt.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I'm in my room and my briefcase slides off the bed. It's the weirdest thing. It's like a ghost is in the room. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever experienced that, where you're in your room, 99% of you have not been in your hotel room in your briefcase. This shows you how long ago it was, because I carry backpacks now.
Briefcase.
But it slid off the bed, and I'm like, what in the world? And all of a sudden, clothes started falling out of the closet, which were hanging in the closet.
Oh, so scary.
And because I've never been in an earthquake, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm like, hold up. I'm thinking it's a ghost or something. I know it's crazy, but it was no explanation that I could gather quickly, right?
Right.
So then I feel the building moving, and I hear people in the hallways screaming.
Wow.
So I go out towards the balcony to look over, to look and see what's happening, which is probably not the best thing to do. Don't ask me why I did it. Oh my gosh. And the building is swaying. And I'm like, this is it. So all these thoughts are going through your head about your family, because the building is like it's going down.
Right.
What I did not know, this is the point I brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I brought this up is the building was built to sway through engineering, because if it didn't, it would just break.
Right.
So it was built to sway so that it could withstand the earthquake. And I'm thinking, this building shouldn't be leaning like this, but it should.
But it
Otherwise, it would just break off. The top floors.
It was built to bend.
That's exactly right.
And withstand the storm.
That's just like palm trees.
Yes.
So it's the exact same thing. So all I'm saying is that sometimes things are happening in our lives, and because we're not educated on the engineering of the process, we think this can't be right.
Right.
So we start thinking, I'm losing in this situation, when actually sometimes we're learning through the situation. We're setting standards that we would have never set in our life without that particular situation.
Right.
We learn how to be more vocal. We learn how to communicate more effectively. We learn how to be more assertive if you're playing sports. Right. We all these things we learn through what we thought was a losing season.
But it's happening for you.
But it was happening for us.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, when you're tempted to think the worst, and I got to avoid being hurt again in a relationship, I got to avoid being broke in terms of finance, I got to avoid, not succeeding in life. I want you to think more about, man, I am being positioned to win.
Right. Absolutely.
I have everything I've gone through is positioning me for the next level in life.
And it's important to listen and take heed to the people in your life that have permission, and not go to a place where you're not ready to receive. Just try our best. Because
so now you want to listen to the people that have permission.
Yeah, no, I'm talking to myself. I'm changing my self-talk while we're in the middle of the podcast. Because it's when you said it hit me when I was saying, sometimes you're just not, but you have to try your best to reject those feelings and really be in a place where you want to grow and you want to hear it and listen in the moment, because we don't have a lot of time, and it's so, you don't want to stew in something for too long. Yeah. Like you said, your bounce back ability. Yeah. Mine has gotten better, and it's going to get even better than it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It's getting better. Right?
Mm-hmm. Look, I remember.
No, seriously, isn't it getting better?
Yes, it is. But I remember
oh my gosh,
when Tracy Self, she didn't have to say she was mad. If we're in the car, she's looking at the gravel as we go drive by. She's like looking at the road out the passenger window. I'm like, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm like, are you counting rocks? Like, something's wrong. And she would stay in that thing for a minute. And I'm just affirming that you're absolutely right, because now you will say, hey, I feel this way, or do you think this could have been said in a better way, which is great for our relationship. And yes, I believe when we're on episode 100, I'll say she's even better.
5 minutes. I'm out of it.
Right. Because I'll be better.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Just talk good to yourself.
Absolutely. Every day. Focusing on the win, right? Focusing on the win. That's what we do.
Hey guys, this has been another episode of the Self-Talk. Remember, the things we say to ourselves about ourselves eventually determine what and even who we attract for ourselves.
All we do is win, 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 no matter what.
Thank you for listening to the Self-Talk Podcast with Darnell and Tracy Self. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. And we'll see you next time. And remember, talk good to yourself.